Good afternoon, beloved Bala sir, dignitaries on and off the dais, and student managers. I, Swapnil Gupta, feel privileged to introduce a personality like Mr. Kaushik Mittal. Sir completed his graduation in BA Honours Economics from SRCC Delhi University, MA Economics from Jawaharlal Nehru University, and PGDM PMNIR from XLRI Jamshedpur in the year 1992. Sir has more than 20 years of experience, having started his career with Maruti in various marketing and sales roles, then carrying on with Satyam Infowell Limited as a business manager, consumer channels. Furthermore, he joined as engagement manager with HR consulting practices of Arthur Andersen and EY, where he was responsible for client assignments ranging from telecom and ITs to healthcare. From 2004 to 2005, he joined Tata Sons Limited, where he was responsible for rolling out HR initiates across the Tata Group. Proceeding his illustrious career, he added HR at Dr. Reddy's for all emerging markets, responsible for 6,500 associates. Adding more feathers to his cap, he is currently Director HR at Honeywell Automation India Limited, which is a leading provider of integrated automation and software solution, which ranks among the 500 largest listed companies and having presence in 100 countries. Thank you. Sir, I request you to pour your words of wisdom on us.
So how much time do we have? About an hour? All right. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. It's great to be here, and it's indeed an honor to be part of this forum and to be back here again. So, incidentally, it's not the first time I have come to this gathering, of course, in a different context. This was about 7 to 8 years back. I was with another organization at that point of time, but it's indeed wonderful to see this institute go from strength to strength. Excellent infrastructure, so much energy in this room, and also the fact that many of your alma mater have been so very successful in the industry. So, really glad to be here, and thanks to the faculty, thanks to Dr. Padhi for really relentlessly following up with me and literally kind of getting me here. So very happy to be here. Now, so I was asking Dr. Padhi that what is it that would make sense to an audience like you. I think you are all second year students. You're I think probably more than halfway through your curriculum. So I was given to understand that what would probably make sense is to get a better understanding that what is it that industry expects, and what all you should be prepared for. So I thought I would focus on what it takes to build your career. Another few months from now, your process would start, and next year this time you would probably be in your new organization. So I'll spend the next half an hour, 40 minutes talking through and sharing some of my thoughts, and I'm sure a lot of it might be repetitive because there have been speakers before me who have shared their perspectives. So bear with me. I'll try not to make it too much theoretical. I'll try and talk about some of my experiences along the way, and hopefully I should have more questions. If any of you have a question and you want to kind of raise your hands along the way, I'm happy to stop. Otherwise we'll focus on those towards the end. Great. So I guess you all are very very well aware that we are in an environment where there is huge amount of change that's happening around us. So if you look at the situation what we faced let's say 30 years back when some of us began our careers, I began my career about 22 years back. It was a different kind of paradigm. You typically looked at having a good education, going to the right institute, doing your job well, getting into a good organization, and moving up the ladder, and then, once you have reached where you want to, then you kind of coast along till you retire. And I think that paradigm is, pretty much changed, completely changed, I would say. While there are, far many more opportunities that, all of you have, probably, in the course of a, 40 plus year career, and I'm saying not just your formal career in an organization, but, careers beyond that, you would probably have, at least 2, if not 3 different careers. You will have to keep reinventing yourself. So, corporate life may not be the only career that, many of you, might look forward to, and why, what is happening, and, I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but, as you can see those bullet points, globalization and economic integration, huge, changes. Who would have imagined that, Nokia would be, out of the mobile phone business 10 years back? Who would have imagined that, the complete, enterprise value of, Nokia's mobile division, BlackBerry, as well as Motorola, together would be less than what, WhatsApp was purchased for, by Facebook. That's the kind of, changes that we are seeing. The other, big changes, you look at demographic trends, right? From 1950 to 2000, the percentage of the world population that was above the age of 60 grew from 8 to 10%, right? Today we are talking about, by the year 2050 it will go to 20%. And if you're talking about some of the, the developed economies of the world, mature economies like Japan, most of Western Europe, we are talking about 40% of the population being above the age of 60 by the year 2050, right? Likewise, if you even take a country like the United States, where there has been so much immigration, so much vibrancy, what they today call as the minorities will account for more than 50% of the population of the US. So these will have huge impact in terms of how your careers will get shaped, what kind of skill sets will be valued, how long your careers will be, and the fact that if you look at changing patterns of growth. So again, just to quote some statistics, in the year 1750, before the Industrial Revolution began, Asia used to account for 50% of the world's GDP. Guess what it was, back in 1970? Less than 10%. Today we are back to 20%. Again, we are saying that by 2050, Asia will once again account for more than 50% of the GDP. So, increasing number of Indians, Chinese, folks from African countries will be part of the workforce. And not to talk about diversity, as defined by women in the workforce. Likewise, technology and communication. All of you have seen what radical changes it's meant in the last 15 years. You can just see. I mean, today, any work, any knowledge work can be broken up, and it can be thanks to the ease of communication, the fact that technology is much cheaper. You can break up any work, and you can farm it out to any part of the world, pretty much, right? So, so the important thing for all of you is to be deeply aware. Continue to follow these trends. Be aware, what it means in terms of where your skill sets are, how it's going to impact, where do you need to kind of focus on, because these trends will impact you. So, let me step back a bit, and although during the introduction a little background has been given, let me talk to you a little bit about my career. So, I studied HR for my MBA. I was a fresher. I never worked before, so I had no clue about what corporate life is about. So a lot of the gyan that I'll be giving you are actually mistakes I made. So I'm not a good role model. Many things I learned along the way. So hopefully I should be able to share some of those learnings. So when I began, I actually spent 2 years studying to become an HR professional, to become a personnel manager. Those days it was called personnel. So I studied all those courses: labor laws, industrial relations, performance management, executive compensation. And In my summers, I was reasonably good in studies, so I just attended 2 interviews, got picked up by the second company, which was, Unilever, Hindustan Unilever, and that was that. And I was all set to become a personnel manager after 2 years. It so happened that, when the final placements came, Unilever did not show up, so they selected me for another round, out of campus, but they didn't come to campus that year. And I didn't get placed on the first day. It was like the longest day in my, in the world. Those days, it's just endless. And second day, another company came, an automotive company, Maruti, and they actually offered me a job in marketing and sales. So after studying to become an HR professional, I completely switched line, and for the next 12 years of my career, I did everything other than HR, right? So I did sales planning, dealer development, brand management, logistics, internet marketing. Went to a consulting firm, became a management consultant, and it so happened that the management consulting stint was in HR consulting, and that's how I, again, without realizing, I, kind of ambled back into HR. And then since then, I've been doing HR. So the question is that, is that the best way? Is that how you should, pursue your career? And that's something that, I would want to talk about. So fundamentally, in another 6 to 7 months, as you kind of move on, the question you will ask is that, and some of you will keep asking that, what do companies expect? Obviously it's fairly straightforward things. Every company wants to hire the best. Every company wants to, bring in, new recruits who can, do a good job with diligence, with, commitment. And, as I was being told by one of your, colleagues, they talked about, being able to differentiate yourself. So what does being, able to differentiate yourself mean? Now, given the context that I talked about, the changing environment, what is happening? Increasingly there'll be more complexity, there's more diversity in the environment, and there's a lot more uncertainty. And these are some of the things that, I would like to talk about. And guess what? I mean, in your management education, and that was true of me also when I did all this, roughly about 22 years back, what we really focus more on, by default is the conceptual and analytical skills, the knowledge. Those are the things. And as I told you, I remember practically nothing of what I studied in the first, 12 years of my career. I had to relearn, redo the whole thing. So I don't even remember the courses that I studied. So what really sticks and what you actually remember are really the rigor, the discipline, the relationships that you build, the character that you build, and the ability to move forward with those relationships that you build. So that's very important. And increasingly as you move up in your careers, that's what you will find is going to play a more and more important role. So I will basically want to talk about exactly four or five things that which I believe are critical for all of you who are at this juncture, just beginning to kind of start your career. And I'll just talk about those, and then I'm happy to have your questions. So the most important thing, the single most important step in any leadership journey is to understand yourself. It's really an intense journey. How much you give, what you want to learn, how much you have to change in the process. So as you move higher and higher up in your career, what's going to matter more and more is how well you truly know yourself. And it amazes me, as a senior HR professional, I often interview senior candidates, senior people, and it's amazing that how few individuals really know about it themselves. And I really would urge you to keep out time to continuously reflect upon what gets you going, what kind of courses you enjoy doing, why do you enjoy doing those courses, what kind of roles that do you enjoy more? Do you prefer to be in an environment where there are goals and you're continuously meeting those goals, meeting targets, or do you prefer an environment where you're left on your own, you do your research, wonder, want to do certain things? What kind of industries do you prefer to be in? Are you scared of technology? Do consumer products fascinate you? These are important questions to ask because a lot of the success that you achieve is also a function of enjoying what you do and being passionate about what you do. So continue to the answers are not easy. There are very few individuals who at the age of 20 or 24 they have a clear mission statement for their life, are able to kind of articulate their values. I for one was not one of them. Even today I probably haven't unlike a lot of more successful peers of mine, I can't say for sure that I've achieved all of that, but do keep asking yourselves. Think about what you want to do 20 years from now. Where do you want to be? Economically, not just economically, but also spiritually, in terms of your values, your family. Think about all those things because believe me, if you've done that thinking, it's going to help you go in a particular path. There's this term. It's not my term. I picked it up from another management thinker. Macro manage your career. What does that mean? It means that you may not necessarily be able to kind of figure out when you begin your career as to where exactly you want to go, what direction that you want to head in. However, think of the longer term perspective. So there are two reasons why people make changes, and and both are valid reasons, by the way. There is the instrumental reasons and there are fundamental reasons. Instrumental is something that you do because you see it as a means to an end, something that because you want to get a particular job of a certain kind, you acquire a certain experience. And there is a fundamental reason, which is that you do something because of the love of it, whether it's going to lead to something tangible, yes or no. Even if you do not have an answer, the simple love of it leads you to do that. And I would urge that balance the two. In fact, the more you do something because of a fundamental reason, the happier you will be in your career, and the happier you will be in terms of getting to where you want to go. Okay. Have any of you ever come across Steve Jobs famous speech, 2005, Stanford University? It's there on YouTube. Okay, great. So most of you have. Am I hearing that correct? Excellent. Then I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I don't know if you remember, he talks about when he actually opted out of college and he joined calligraphy class, right? And at that point of time, he had no clue what his interest in calligraphy would lead to. And yet, much later, when he came out with the first Macintosh and then the operating system, all that he had learned, he was able to put into practice. So the lesson was that you cannot look for patterns from the beginning. You can work backwards and find the pattern. So very, very important to do what so the first 6, 8, 10 years of your career, you may not have a very clear idea. Do what you want to do. You may not have a clear strategy, but once you have done that, then you will gradually figure out. And when I look at my own career, very similar thing. I was actually quite stupid. I actually did a lot of things because they were opportunistic. Because somebody offered me a job in marketing and sales. In those days, it was supposed to be more glamorous. HR was more of industrial relations, IR, and Also had a chance to be near my hometown in Delhi, and I took up that role. But fortunately for me, I loved that time. I did a lot of interesting things, and so although the decision was not taken with too much thought, but I really enjoyed doing what I did. And I remember that when I was about 7-8 years old in my career, or was it, I think, nearer to 10 years, this was when I was in consulting, and I happened to meet a headhunter. And the advice that was given to me, he said that you are actually wasting your career because you have no clarity in terms of what you want to do. You've just been you've just gone whichever way the water has moved, and it's time to actually start thinking as to what you want to do. And that's when I really took the call, that I looked at do I want to be an average marketing person, or somebody who's confused, or really get into a line. And that's when I chose my line, chose my discipline, and moved into it. So the point of the matter is that think through whenever when the placement season comes, think in terms of what kind of culture, what kind of environment you'll be comfortable in, because every organization has a different culture, different industries are different. The one advice I can give you is that try and be in an environment which is dynamic, which is extremely competitive, which is changing rapidly. Because if you go for an option that is safe, that seems to be stable, not only the organization but your career will also atrophy. So given a choice, do look for a more dynamic, competitive, more uncertain environment, because as I've said before, your lives are going to be uncertain. So the faster you get comfortable with uncertainty, change, the better it is. Okay, so the second point that I would want to talk about, and which is embrace globalization, be a globalist. So what does that mean? I mean, if you really look at every successful organization today, like it or not, increasingly going global. So if I look at my last 2 assignments and my current assignment, about 40 to 50% of my time I spent dealing with colleagues from across time zones, across different geographies. And what does it do? It really requires one to be able to see the world from a lens which is very different from the culture in which many of us have grown up in. Different paradigms, different ways of looking at things. So what works in one country may not work in another. So when you look at opportunities, when you look at environments, try and get away from as much as possible from your hometown, from your home environment, from your comfort zone. If you can get to work in an organization which serves global markets, so much the better. So when I was in my previous organization at Dr. Reddy's, 82% of our business used to come from outside the country. So I had team members who were foreign nationals, employees sitting in different parts of the world, and believe me, the amount of perspective it gave me. So many times you look at the world thinking about the way you operate in your home country, but it gives you a different perspective altogether. That something that works well here completely does not work, because the compliance requirements are different, the culture is different, the expectations of employees are different. So that's something actively strive for, and build that into your mindset. Also, what I call as an abundance mindset. The world of tomorrow, in fact, the world of today is very different from the world in which I grew up in. No queues, no lines. While there is competition, while there is market share, there's actually room for everybody to grow. So it's not a what do you call, a zero-sum game. Think of the world as something which has got unlimited resources, unlimited possibilities. So the more possibilities, the more you widen your horizon, the faster you grow, the more you learn. The other piece is, of course, simplicity. there is so much information today, so much that you have access to. I was again thinking when I came to your campus that in my days we used to, if we had a term paper or something we used to do, we would go to the library, fill up a cart of books, and then stay overnight, and then go through all that. Today it's all available on the internet. However, the negative aspect of this is that there is so much information that life has become unnecessarily complex. So I would urge you, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, to actively simplify, cut bureaucracy. If you can make a statement in 2 sentences instead of 5, do it in 2 sentences. If you can communicate something in 1 paragraph instead of 2 pages, do it in that 1 paragraph, because the more you're able to keep things simple, the more you will be able to successfully cut through the inherent complexity of your life. And that's true with rules, processes, hierarchies. Always try and simplify. And diversity. So again, diversity. There are many notions of what diversity is, but here what I'm referring to is diversity of thought process. Just as an abundance and a mindset of abundance, referring to diversity of thought process. Always surround yourself, with folks who come from a different perspective, have a different viewpoint, because you need to actively drive innovation and change, and to be able to do that, you need to much more actively seek out diversity. Get comfortable with working with people, working with team members, working with folks who think differently from you. All right. Then my third pearl of wisdom is build your human capital. So what does that mean? It's basically about being a lifelong learner. So while for most of you your formal academic career will end when you pass out from here, more than ever before in tomorrow's world, you will need to continuously refresh yourself. Leaders of business anywhere in the world are all very well educated, and they make it a point to keep themselves up to date, fresh. They read extensively. They try and seek out views, opinions from people who are thought leaders who matter. They're curious about the world. They are continuously wanting to know what next. So make sure that your education does not end. Have the same level of hunger, curiosity, desire to learn, right? So ensure that you have a reading habit. Keep aside time. So one of my favorite journals is The Economist. Wherever I am, so it's downloaded on my phone, on my iPad. Plus, I get the hard copies. One magazine, you just try and read it from cover to cover. Takes up everything. So I'm not saying that you've got to keep going to libraries and do all that, but just make it a point to. So for me right now, it's it's The Economist, it's the Harvard Business Review, and a few other things. But these two are sort of my lifeline. So continue to do that, and have an interest in things besides your work, right? So to be interesting, you have to be interested. You have to be interested in various things, and it's absolutely essential. The other advice I would give you is and you can see it on this graph here. It's from the Center of Creative Leadership. Maybe in your academic curriculum you may have come across this. How do people learn? It's really through through experience on the job, through challenging assignments, right? So all the the academic inputs, the coursework, the training programs you go through are not going to matter as much as what you learn on the job. So be sure to always pick up the toughest assignments that are going around. So someone asked me, that all the speakers are saying differentiate yourself, differentiate yourself. How do you really differentiate yourself? So the best way to do it is, do that assignment that nobody wanted to do. Nobody wanted to volunteer, the one that looked the dirtiest. Yes, my friend, you are the one who asked me, right? So do that, and if you make a success of it, not only will you end up differentiating yourself, you will also make a mark, and trust me, then you will be given more responsibilities. So make it a point to keep doing that. Make it a point to also keep tracking your progress. So while you're in school, while you're in your institute, you've got your tests, you've got your term papers, your academic rigor ensures that every few months you're a more evolved person than the person who came in. Please do that in your work life also. Do not wait till the end of the year or till the midterm for your boss to tell you. Keep tracking yourself. What are the new skills that you've acquired? What is it that you have learned in the last 12 months which you were not aware of earlier? How has it made a difference? Does your if you just imagine if you had to refresh your resume, right, every 4 months, what would you write new in your resume? Yep. Will you write that I did the same thing for the last 3-4 years over and over again, or did I actually do something differently? So if you come from that perspective, you will automatically keep pushing yourself, and you'll keep tracking and ensuring that you're making progress. And then the last point, last but probably the most important one of all, and this is it's the most important one, and I think even more important in your context, build trusting relationships. So I would have maybe 4-5 years back, I would have asked, how many of you are on LinkedIn? I won't ask that. I'll ask, who's not on LinkedIn? Anybody not on LinkedIn? Be honest. Okay, anybody? No one. Is there anybody not on Facebook? No one? Okay. So yeah, so thanks to social media and thanks to the fact that we are all in a much more connected world, all of us have probably thousands of connections. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, God knows what. I mean, so we are far more connected and apparently have a large network. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about here is forming truly deep relationships, truly deep rapport where there is mutual give and take. Being in my position, you can imagine that every week I get about 40-50 LinkedIn invites. Everybody wants to be my LinkedIn friend, and guess what? Guess why? Because they want a job or something. You can imagine. Can I give a job to 20 to 30 people every week? I can't, right? So the worst thing which social media today permits is that you can just pop up one fine day. So in the old days you could disappear. You could literally disappear from the face of the earth, and that was that. Today somebody who I have not been in touch with 20 years suddenly becomes my friend, and why does he want to become my friend? Because there's something that he or she wants from me. So what I would urge you to do is that building relationships is a two-way street, right? One of the best things that being in a good prestigious school like this one, like yours, you're a group of 600 of you peers. Not only all the things that you learn in academics, continue with these relationships, build these relationships, because you don't know 15 years from now, 20 years from now, how they will pay off. So actively manage, maintain your relationships. When you get to work, build a good reputation. So not only through the work that you do, but again how do you conduct yourself? How do you and let me tell you while you read all the stories about failings of large companies, ethical violations and so on, I would say 95% of all the top leaders in the corporate sector, have actually been, they've not clawed their way up. Again, to borrow a term somebody else used, they've literally been pushed there. They've been pushed there and pulled into those slots by their, not just by their bosses, but by their peers, colleagues, by their subordinates. Because in the world of tomorrow, if you are not able to build relationships, if you're not able to become a talent magnet, so if you're a leader and you're leading people, the surest way to succeed is to be able to attract the best and brightest to work for you. And I'm not referring only to external recruitment. I'm also referring to the image and the brand that you build for yourself in the work environment. So if you are a manager of managers, if you're a general manager or somebody 3 levels up, believe me, very soon the entire organization will know your reputation, and the best people will want to work with you only if they see you as somebody who's there to help them build their career, and that in turn will drive your success. I've made job changes like many of you will, and some of you will probably make more in the next 10 years than I've made so far. The important thing is to never burn your bridges. More important than ever before, because you simply cannot disappear from the face of the earth. Even if you're a young person, 5 years experience, thanks to social media, thanks to the interconnected world. For me, if I am hiring somebody in my team, I'll go through the references the candidate provides. But if I really want to find out, I can talk to, believe me, even if you're just 3 years into your career, I'll be able to figure out, 4 or 5 people who, know you actively well and whose names you have not mentioned. So, never burn your bridges. As you move, from a career to career, organization to organization, the most important, impact or the most lasting contribution you will have is the relationships you have built and the careers that you have enabled. So, your credibility is the most important thing that you can defend. And last but not the least, ethical traps. So today things are so different. There are faster, quicker, and more efficient ways of doing anything that you want to do. The only thing for which there is still no shortcut is ethics. And I don't know, I'm sure you would have learned all of this in your coursework and from your faculty, and eminent people may have told you about it, but never fall prey to that, because if that happens, then your career today is finished. There's no way you will be able to come out of it. So that's what I had to say. I think I've taken up more than my promised half an hour. Just to kind of reiterate, know yourself, embrace globalization, build your own capital, and build great relationships. So that's what I had to share. I'm happy to take your questions.